Daniel Carter looked out the viewport as the diplomatic vessel approached the alien world. Vextoris loomed large, its purple-tinged atmosphere swirling with strange cloud patterns. After 20 years as a diplomat for Earth's unified coalition, Carter thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. 5 minutes until landing, Ambassador, said Olivia Wright, his aide. She handed him a data tablet with the latest intelligence reports. Carter nodded, his weathered face serious. Any updates on those military vessels we spotted in orbit? 17 warships now, said Frank Moss, the security chief. Moss was a large man with a military background who never smiled. That's 3 more than yesterday. They're not even trying to hide them. Carter sighed. This was supposed to be a routine mission. The insect-like Vextorians had been pushing into human space, settling on planets that Earth had already claimed. His job was to draw clear lines and prevent further problems. Simple diplomacy. But nothing about this felt simple or routine. Remember, Carter told his team as their ship descended toward the Vextorian capital, "We are here to talk, not to threaten. Earth wants peace." The landing platform was surrounded by tall, crystalline structures that reflected the orange sunlight. As Carter and his team exited their ship, they were met by a group of Vextorians. The aliens stood on 4 legs, with 2 arm-like limbs that ended in 3-fingered hands. Their exoskeletons were a deep blue, and their compound eyes shimmered with an unsettling intelligence. Ambassador Carter clicked the lead Vextorian in halting English. "I am Protocol Officer Chick. The High Council awaits you." As they walked through the alien city, Carter noticed disturbing details. Weapon stockpiles were visible in open warehouses. Warrior-cased Vextorians, larger and more heavily armored than the civilians, were everywhere. This did not look like a civilization preparing for peaceful talks. The High Council chamber was a vast, dome-shaped room filled with hundreds of Vextorians arranged in circular tiers. At the center was Overlord Kistik, leader of the Vextorian people. His exoskeleton was almost black, and golden designs had been painted on his shell to show his rank. "Ambassador," the Overlord's voice was deeper than the other Vextorians. "You come to speak of territories." Carter stepped forward. "Yes, Overlord. There have been concerning developments in the Orion sector. 3 human colonies have reported Vextorian settlements being established nearby. According to our previous agreements, these planets are in human space." The Overlord's mandibles clicked in what Carter had learned was amusement. Previous agreements are no longer suitable for our needs. Carter kept his face neutral, though alarm bells were ringing in his mind. "Perhaps we can discuss adjustments that would benefit both our peoples." "Here are our terms," said the Overlord, gesturing to a large holographic map that appeared between them. It showed the disputed territories, but with boundaries drawn far beyond what the Vextorians had already taken. The new lines would require humans to abandon 3 established colonies. "This is unacceptable," Carter said firmly. "Those colonies have thousands of human inhabitants. We've invested years in making those worlds livable." The Overlord's compound, the airlocks of the U.S. Endeavor, sealed with a hiss as Carter and his team returned from the failed meeting. His face was tight with worry. The Vextorians had shown their true aims, and they were not peaceful. "Everyone to the command room." "Now," Carter ordered. His voice had lost its diplomatic softness. Inside the ship's command center, the team gathered around a holographic display. The blue glow lit their concerned faces from below. Samantha Powell, the intelligence officer, touched controls on her wrist device, bringing up images captured during their visit. "Look at these," she said, pointing to pictures of Vextorian military preparations. Weapon stockpiles, troop movements, orbital defenses. They'd been planning this for months, maybe years. Olivia adjusted her glasses. "But why pretend to negotiate at all?" "To gauge our reaction," Carter said. "To see if we would back down immediately." He paced the room, hands clasped behind his back. "They think we're weak. That humans will run from a fight." Frank Moss crossed his arms over his broad chest. "What's our next move, Ambassador?" Before Carter could answer, the ship's communication system beeped loudly. A Vextorian face appeared on the main screen. It was not the Overlord, but a military commander, evident from the red markings on its exoskeleton. "Attention, human vessel," the alien clicked. "By order of the Vextorian High Command, you will receive our terms. All humans must withdraw from the contested territories within 3 of your Earth days. Failure to comply will result in immediate military action." The Vextorian's mandibles moved in what might have been a smile. "We suggest you begin evacuation procedures at once." The screen went dark. Silence filled the command room. 3 days, whispered Olivia. "They want us to abandon thousands of people in 3 days. Samantha pulled up population data. "That's impossible. We have over 40,000 colonists in those sectors. Even if we had enough ships, which we don't, an evacuation would take weeks." Carter stared at the blank screen. His mind worked quickly, weighing options, considering consequences. 20 years of diplomatic service had taught him to seek compromise, to find common ground. But he also recognized when the other side had no interest in real negotiation. "They're not expecting us to meet their deadline," he said finally. "They want us to try and fail, to be caught in the middle of an evacuation when they attack. They want an easy victory." "So what do we do?" Frank asked. Carter's face hardened. "We send a message, not just to the Vextorians, but to Earth as well. Everyone needs to understand what's happening here." He stepped toward the communication station and pressed the transmit button. The system beeped, indicating it was ready to record. "This is Ambassador Daniel Carter responding to the Vextorian ultimatum." He began, his voice steady and clear. "I have met with the Vextorian leadership and assessed their intentions. They have been preparing for war while pretending to engage in diplomacy. They believe humans will surrender rather than fight." He paused, then leaned closer to the recorder. "You misunderstand humanity fundamentally. You want war? We'll bring it. And I promise you, it will be unlike anything your species has ever experienced." He ended the transmission. The room was completely silent. "That wasn't very diplomatic," Frank said finally, a hint of approval in his voice. "Diplomacy requires both sides to want peace," Carter replied. "Sometimes the most honest diplomacy is to make your position absolutely clear." He turned to Samantha. "Send that message not just to the Vextorians, but to Earth Command as well. They need to know what we're facing." The ship's warning system suddenly blared to life. Olivia rushed to the sensor station. "Multiple Vextorian vessels approaching. They're moving to surround us." Carter's jaw tightened. "Seems they didn't appreciate my response. Prepare for emergency departure. We need to warn the colonies." Carter's message reached Earth within hours. It spread quickly through government channels, and then leaked to the public. Soon, people on every human world were watching the diplomat's defiant words. In the grand meeting hall of the coalition government on Earth, emergency talks were underway. Officials in formal uniforms and suits argued loudly with each other. "Carter has overstepped his authority," shouted Counselor Greg Peters, pounding his fist on the polished table. "He's committed us to a war without approval." "The Vextorians already decided on war," countered Counselor Maria Lopes. Carter just refused to show weakness. At the head of the table sat Admiral Elaine Summers, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her uniform displayed rows of medals from past conflicts. She had remained silent during most of the debate, but now she stood. "Enough," she said, her quiet voice somehow cutting through the noise. The room fell silent. "What's done is done. The question is how we respond now." She walked to the large screen at the front of the room and brought up a map of the contested space. "The Vextorians were already preparing for war. Our intelligence confirms it. Carter's words didn't start this conflict, but they may have given us something valuable." She paused. "Time." "Time for what?" asked Peters. "Time to prepare. The Vextorians expected us to panic, to start a disorganized evacuation. Instead, we've shown resolve. That will make them hesitate. Reassess. While the leaders debated, Carter's words had a different effect on the general public. People were tired of alien species pushing humans around. The phrase, "You want war? We'll bring it," appeared on posters, social media, and even military vessels. On colony worlds, local militias began forming. Retired soldiers volunteered to train civilians. Factories switched from making everyday goods to producing weapons and armor. A spirit of unity spread across human space that hadn't been seen in generations. Meanwhile, aboard the U.S. Endeavour, Carter and his team raced away from Vextorian space. Their communication system beeped with an incoming message from Earth Command. "Ambassador Carter," said the stern face of Fleet Commander William Jackson, "you are ordered to return to Earth immediately for consultation." "Understood, Commander," Carter replied. "We're already on our way." After the transmission ended, Olivia looked worried. "Are they going to blame you for this?" Carter nodded. "Probably. But it doesn't matter now. What matters is preparing our people." Their conversation was interrupted by a violent shaking of the ship. Red warning lights flashed throughout the command center. "We're under attack," shouted Frank from the sensor station. 3 Vextorian scout ships came out of nowhere. The U.S. Endeavour was not a warship. It had basic shields and a few defensive weapons, but nothing that could stand against a determined attack. "Evasive maneuvers," Carter ordered, falling into the captain's role. "Samantha, send a distress signal to any human ships in range." Another blast rocked the ship. Sparks flew from a damaged control panel. "Engine 2 is hit," reported Olivia. "We're losing power." Carter studied the navigation display. "There's a human colony on New Montana, not far from here. Can we make it?" Frank calculated quickly. "Maybe, if we push the remaining engines to their limit." "Do it," Carter ordered, "and prepare for emergency landing procedures." The ship lurched forward, smoke now filling parts of the command center. Through the viewport, Carter could see one of the Vextorian ships still in pursuit. "They really didn't like my message," he muttered. The blue-green sphere of New Montana grew larger in their view screen. It was a frontier world with only a small human settlement. Not the help they had hoped for, but their only option now. Braced for atmospheric entry, Frank called out, "This is going to be rough." The Endeavour burned through the planet's atmosphere, trailing fire and debris. The pursuing Vextorian ship fired one last shot before breaking off its attack. The diplomatic vessel, never designed for combat or crash landings, plummeted toward the surface of New Montana. The U.S. Endeavour lay partially buried in the soft ground of New Montana. Smoke rose from its damaged engines. Inside, emergency lights cast red shadows as Carter helped Olivia from her seat. "Everyone okay?" he called out, looking around the command center. Frank had a cut on his forehead, but nodded. "I'll live." Samantha was checking the ship's systems. "Communications are down. Life support is failing. We need to get outside." They gathered essential supplies and emergency gear, then forced open the main door. Fresh air rushed in, smelling of pine and soil. New Montana was one of the more Earth-like colony worlds, with familiar plants and a comfortable atmosphere. A small group of humans approached cautiously from the nearby tree line. One man stepped forward, a farming tool held defensively in his hands. "Who are you?" he asked. "That's not a colony ship." Carter stepped forward. "I'm Ambassador Daniel Carter from Earth's Unified Coalition. Our diplomatic vessel was attacked by Vextorian scouts." The man's eyes widened in recognition. "You're the one from the message. The one who told the aliens we'd bring the war." Carter nodded. "We need to speak with whoever's in charge here." The man lowered his tool. "That would be Richard Bennett. I'm Joe, his assistant. Follow me." The settlement was small, about 50 buildings constructed from local wood and prefabricated materials shipped from Earth. A few hundred people lived there, mostly farmers and miners. It was nothing like the major colonies with thousands of residents. Richard Bennett was a tall, thin man with sun-weathered skin. He met them in a building that served as the colony's meeting hall. "So Earth has finally sent someone," he said, not sounding particularly pleased. "Bit late, though." "We weren't sent," Carter explained. "We crashed. Our ship was attacked by Vextorians." Bennett looked skeptical. "Vextorians? Here, we're far from their territory." "Not anymore," Samantha said, pulling out a portable display. "They're expanding rapidly. And after Ambassador Carter's message, they're likely looking for any human targets they can find." "That message," Bennett turned to Carter with a frown. "Was it wise to provoke them?" Before Carter could answer, a young woman burst into the room. "Dad," she called to Bennett, "something's in the sky. Several somethings." Everyone rushed outside. High above, dark shapes moved against the clouds. They were too far to identify clearly, but their formation was purposeful, not random. "Scout ships," Frank said grimly. "Vextorian design." Bennett's face paled. "We're not soldiers. We have a few hunting weapons, that's all." Carter watched the ships, his mind racing. The diplomat who had spent his career avoiding conflicts now faced one he couldn't escape. "How many people can fire those hunting weapons?" he asked. "Maybe 30, Bennett replied. "But we've never fought anything like this. And your communication equipment? Can we contact Earth?" Bennett shook his head. "Our system is for local use and scheduled check-ins, not strong enough to reach Earth directly." Olivia stepped forward. "I worked in communications before becoming a diplomatic aide. If you have the right parts, I might be able to boost your signal." Carter looked at his team, then at the frightened colonists. They were all looking to him now, not as a diplomat, but as a leader. "Okay," he said firmly. "Here's what we're going to do. Samantha, work with the colonists to map out defensive positions. Frank, see what weapons we have and organize anyone who can fight. Olivia, start on that communication system." "And you?" Frank asked. "I'm going to salvage what I can from our ship, especially the emergency protocols for situations like this." Carter turned to Bennett. "We need to prepare your people. The Vextorians won't just go away." Bennett nodded slowly. "I've heard stories about diplomats, that they'll say anything to avoid a fight." He looked Carter in the eye. "You're not what I expected." "None of this is what I expected," Carter replied. "But here we are." He looked up at the sky where the alien ships had been. "And they're coming." 3 days passed quickly as the colonists prepared for the coming attack. Carter had not slept much. He stood on the edge of the settlement, watching the morning sun rise over the forests of New Montana. "They're coming today," said Frank, walking up beside him. The security chief held a makeshift map of their defenses. Carter nodded. "I know." In just 3 days, they had changed the peaceful farming colony into a defensive position. Barriers made from fallen trees and metal sheets surrounded the main buildings. Hunting rifles and a few energy weapons salvaged from the ship were positioned at key points. Every adult who could hold a weapon had been given basic training by Frank. "Our scouts spotted their landing ships," Frank continued. "About 5 miles south. They're assembling now." Carter turned to look at the colony behind them. People moved with purpose, no panic despite the danger. It surprised him how quickly humans could adapt. "How many?" "At least 100 warriors, maybe more." Carter frowned. They had about 40 fighters, and most were farmers with minimal training. "Where's Olivia?" he asked. "Still working on the communication system with 2 of the colony engineers. They've made progress, but it's not ready yet." A loud alarm sounded from the center of the settlement. One of their lookouts had spotted movement in the forest edge. "Time to see if your diplomatic skills work on the battlefield," Frank said with a grim smile. Carter checked the energy pistol at his side, a weapon he had trained with but never expected to use in real combat. "Let's hope so," he replied. They hurried back to the main defense line where Richard Bennett was organizing the colonists. "They're approaching from the south and east," Bennett reported, moving in formation. Carter climbed onto a raised platform to get a better view. In the distance, he could see them. Vextorian warriors in their battle armor, moving through the trees with precision. Their blue exoskeletons caught the morning light, and many carried weapons far more advanced than anything the colonists had. "Remember the plan," Carter called out to the defenders. "Stay in your positions. Don't waste ammunition on long shots. Let them come closer." The Vextorians stopped at the edge of the clearing around the colony. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a larger warrior stepped forward. Its armor was decorated with red markings of rank. "Humans," its voice boomed across the open space. "Surrender the one called Carter, and the rest may live as our servants." Carter stepped into view. "We decline your generous offer," he shouted back. "This colony is under the protection of Earth's unified coalition. Any attack will be considered an act of war against all humanity." The Vextorian commander made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Your weakness disgusts us. We will take this world and all others." Without further warning, the Vextorians charged. The battle was chaos. Energy weapons flashed from both sides. The air filled with the smell of burning wood and ozone. The colonists fought bravely from their positions, but the Vextorians' superior numbers and weapons began to push them back. Carter found himself in the middle of the fighting, firing his weapon at the advancing aliens. This was nothing like the diplomatic meetings and negotiations of his past. Yet somehow his mind remained clear, analyzing the battlefield like he would a diplomatic problem. He noticed something important. The Vextorians always looked to their commander for orders. When that commander moved, entire sections of their forces shifted in response. "Frank," Carter called over the noise of battle. "Their command unit. Everything flows from there." Frank nodded in understanding. He gathered 5 of their best fighters. "Keep them distracted," he told Carter. "We're going around to hit their leadership." As Frank's team slipped away, Carter organized the remaining defenders to concentrate their fire on the front line of attackers. The Vextorians pushed forward, but more slowly now. Minutes later, sudden confusion spread through the alien ranks. Their coordinated movements became disorganized. Some warriors stopped advancing completely. Frank's team had succeeded in taking out the command unit. With their command structure broken, the Vextorian attack fell apart. Warriors fought as individuals rather than as a unit. Some continued pressing forward, while others retreated or moved aimlessly. The colonists, though fewer in number, fought with determination and purpose. By sunset, the remaining Vextorians pulled back into the forest. The humans had won the first battle, but at a cost. 12 colonists were dead, and many more were wounded. Buildings burned on the edge of the settlement. Carter moved among the injured, helping where he could. He had a cut on his arm, but ignored it. In a makeshift medical center, Bennett's daughter Lisa treated the wounded with limited supplies. "You fought well today," Carter said to an injured farmer whose leg had been hit by Vextorian fire. The man grimaced through his pain. "They'll be back, won't they?" Carter nodded. "Yes, and with more forces next time." Frank entered the building, his face streaked with dirt and blood. "We checked the battlefield. 37 Vextorians dead. The rest retreated." "Their ships?" Carter asked. "Still there. They're regrouping, probably calling for reinforcements." Carter stepped outside. Night was falling over New Montana, but there was no time to rest. He found Olivia working on the communication equipment, her hands moving quickly among wires and circuits. "How close are we?" he asked. She didn't look up. "We've boosted the signal strength. If a coalition ship passes within a few light years, they might pick it up." "Might isn't good enough," Carter said. "We need help soon." Samantha approached, holding the captured Vextorian weapon. "I've been studying this. Their technology is advanced, but in some ways, it's limited. Their weapons are powerful, but not very adaptable." Carter looked at her. "What are you thinking?" "The same thing that helped us win today," she replied. "Their rigid command structure. What if we could disrupt their communications completely?" Olivia finally looked up from her work. "You mean jam their signals?" "Exactly," Samantha said. They rely on constant communication with their superiors. Cut that off, and they're lost. Carter considered this. Could we build something that would jam their signals? Olivia bit her lip. Maybe. I'd need parts from our ship and help from the colony's engineers, but it would mean pausing work on our distress beacon. Do it, Carter decided. The beacon won't matter if we're all dead when help arrives. The next morning, Carter called a meeting with all the colony leaders. They gathered in the damaged meeting hall, faces tired but determined. The Vextorians will return, Carter began. Probably within days, and with more forces. We have two advantages now. We know their weakness, and they underestimate us. How can we fight more of them? Asked an older woman who led the farming section. We barely survived yesterday. Carter unfolded a map of the surrounding area. We don't fight them head-on. We use their rigid thinking against them. He pointed to several locations around the colony. We set traps here, here, and here. We make them think our main force is in these locations, while we prepare a surprise. Frank nodded in approval. Guerrilla tactics. Hit them where they don't expect it. Meanwhile, Carter continued, Olivia and her team are working on a device that might disrupt their communications completely. Bennett leaned forward. You're not thinking like a diplomat anymore, Carter. Carter's face was serious. I'm still a diplomat. This is just negotiation by other means. As they discussed the details of their plan, a young colonist burst into the room. Ships, he shouted, from the north. Everyone rushed outside, weapons ready. Carter squinted at the sky, expecting to see more Vextorian vessels. Instead, he saw the distinctive shape of human ships entering the atmosphere. Those are coalition ships, he said, relief in his voice. Looks like someone heard us after all. The lead ship was larger than the others, a military vessel with powerful weapons visible on its hull. As it landed in the clearing near the colony, Carter saw the name painted on its side, U.S. Defiant. The U.S. Defiant's main ramp lowered to the ground. A team of soldiers in full combat gear exited first, securing the area. Behind them came a woman with commander insignia on her uniform. She was middle-aged with short gray hair and moved with confident authority. Commander Laura Miller. She introduced herself when she reached Carter. Her eyes widened slightly at his appearance. The once proper diplomat now had a beard, torn clothes, and a weapon at his side. Ambassador Carter, she continued. Admiral Summers sent us to find you. Your message made quite an impression back home. Carter nodded. It seems to have made an impression on the Vextorians, too. They attacked us yesterday. Commander Miller looked around at the damaged settlement. So I see. We detected Vextorian ships in the area. That's why we approached carefully. How did you find us? Olivia asked. Our beacon wasn't strong enough yet. We didn't need your beacon, Miller explained. After your defiant message, Admiral Summers ordered search teams to every human colony in disputed space. We've been looking for you for weeks. Weeks? Carter was surprised. We've only been here for days. It's been 3 weeks since your message reached Earth, Miller said. Time moves differently when you're fighting for survival, doesn't it? Carter introduced Miller to Bennett and the other colonists. As they walked through the settlement, she explained the larger situation. Your words changed everything, Ambassador. You want war. We'll bring it has become the rallying cry for all human forces. The Vextorians expected us to cower and retreat. Instead, we've fought back everywhere. She showed them a data tablet with battle reports from across human space. Earth forces had won several key engagements. The Vextorians, used to quick victories against weaker species, were struggling against determined human resistance. Admiral Summers calls it Operation Thunderclap, Miller said. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and show them humans won't be pushed around. They reached the colony's command center. Inside, Miller's officers set up advanced communication equipment. We need to move quickly, Miller said. My scouts report a large Vextorian force heading this way, much bigger than what you faced yesterday. How many ships do you have? Frank asked. Just the Defiant and 2 support vessels. Not enough for a major battle. Carter studied the tactical display showing Vextorian movements. Then we combine our plans. Your ships, our trap, and Olivia's jamming device. Miller raised an eyebrow. Jamming device. Olivia explained their discovery about Vextorian command structure and their plan to disrupt communications. Miller nodded with growing interest. That matches our intelligence, she said. Vextorians don't adapt well to unexpected situations. Their warriors are fearsome but inflexible. They worked through the night, combining the colony's preparations with the military resources from the Defiant. By dawn, a new defense plan was in place. The Vextorian attack came at midday, 5 large transport ships carrying hundreds of warriors. But instead of finding a weak colony, they faced a coordinated human force. The U.S. Defiant remained hidden behind the planet's moon, ready to strike. As the first Vextorian troops landed, Olivia activated the jamming device. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The aliens' coordinated movements stopped. Individual warriors looked around in confusion, unable to receive orders. Carter and Frank led the ground forces from the colony, springing their traps. Pre-positioned explosives detonated along the Vextorians' path. Hidden colonists fired from multiple positions, making their numbers seem larger. In orbit, the Defiant emerged from hiding and attacked the Vextorian ships. Though outnumbered, the human vessel was more maneuverable, and its crew more adaptable. Carter found himself in the thick of battle again, directing colonists and soldiers alike. He caught sight of Commander Miller fighting nearby. Not bad for a diplomat. She called to him during a pause in the fighting. Carter fired at an approaching Vextorian. I'm still a diplomat. This is just a different kind of negotiation. By evening, the battle had turned decisively in the humans' favor. The remaining Vextorian ships retreated, leaving their ground forces stranded. Without orders and communications, the alien warriors were surrounded and defeated. New Montana had become the site of a critical human victory. 3 months after the Battle of New Montana, Carter stood on the bridge of the U.S. Relentless, Earth's newest and most powerful battleship. Through the large view screen, he could see the Vextorian homeworld. The blue-green planet looked peaceful from orbit, nothing like the war zone it had become. Carter had changed. His diplomatic suits were replaced by a military uniform with commander insignia. His once clean face now had a short beard, and a scar ran along his left cheek from a Vextorian blade. But the biggest changes were inside him. Admiral Summers stood beside him. "Are you ready for this, Carter?" He nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." The last 3 months had transformed the conflict. What began as border skirmishes had become a full-scale war. The Vextorians, expecting an easy victory, instead found themselves pushed back on every front. Humanity, once thought of as a weak species by the Vextorians, had proven to be a nightmare enemy. "The High Council has agreed to meet with you," Summers said. "That alone is a victory." After the success at New Montana, Carter had been officially assigned as a military diplomatic liaison. His understanding of both Vextorian culture and tactical weaknesses made him invaluable. He had helped plan major offensives, including the final push to the Vextorian homeworld. "They didn't have much choice," Carter replied. "Their orbital defenses are gone, their fleet is scattered, and we control their main supply routes." The shuttle trip to the surface was tense. Carter was accompanied by Frank, who now served as his official security chief, and Olivia, whose communication jamming technology had been adapted for use throughout the human fleet. The Vextorian capital showed signs of battle. Buildings were damaged, and the once proud crystalline towers were cracked or fallen. Warrior-cased Vextorians lined the streets, watching the human delegation with their multifaceted eyes. The High Council chamber had been rebuilt after human bombardment had damaged parts of it. Overlord Kizitik still presided, but his golden shell decorations were dulled, and one of his limbs was missing. "Ambassador Carter," the Overlord's voice was less confident than before. "You have returned to our world under different circumstances. Carter stepped forward. Different indeed. Last time, you gave us 3 days to abandon our colonies. Today, I could give you the same ultimatum, but I won't. The chamber was silent. Vextorian council members shifted nervously. Why not? Asked Histik. Is that not how victors treat the defeated? That's how Vextorians might treat others, Carter answered. Humans are different. We don't want your worlds or your resources. We never did. We only wanted respect and recognition of our boundaries. He unfolded a data tablet showing a new map of space. These are our terms. Clear borders between our territories. No military buildup within 5 light years of the boundary. A joint commission to resolve future disputes peacefully. The Overlord studied the map. These terms are unexpected. We didn't want war, Carter said firmly. You brought it to us. Now we bring peace back to you. The choice is yours. After 6 hours of negotiation, the Treaty of Vextoris was signed. As the human delegation prepared to leave, the Overlord approached Carter privately. When you said, "We'll bring war," did you know humans would win so decisively? Carter looked at the alien leader. I knew only that humans have always excelled at 2 things: finding peaceful solutions when possible and defending ourselves when necessary. You gave us no choice but to demonstrate the latter. 1 month later, Carter stood before the Earth Coalition Council. Some praised him as a hero, while others criticized him for provoking the conflict. The debate had raged for weeks. Ambassador Carter, said the council leader, some say you exceeded your authority with your defiant message. Others say you saved countless lives by showing strength early. What do you say? Carter looked around the chamber, remembering the battles, the lives lost, and the peace finally won. Diplomacy isn't just about avoiding war at all costs, he said. It's about representing your people's true interests and capabilities. Sometimes that means making absolutely clear what will happen if diplomacy fails. He paused, thinking of New Montana and all the other worlds now safe from Vextorian aggression. We wanted peace. We still do. But now the galaxy knows something important about humanity. We prefer friendship, but we will never surrender to threats. And that knowledge might be the strongest protection our people could have.